What's happening? So today I'm going to show you my step-by-step system that creates 95-mile-an-hour throwers. We've created 26 of them in the past 2.5 years, since January of 2023, and now it's today it's May 20th of 2025. So I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process that I use personally to be able to create as many 95-mile-an-hour throwers as I can find. Okay, it may be a little bit different, but this is kind of how I think about things. So let's learn how to throw 95 miles an hour right now. Okay, so here's where I start. I'll start over here. So I always look at the throw first. Okay, this is where a lot of guys have differing opinions. A lot of guys will look at how the body moves and kind of the strength base. I look at, well, obviously throwing is a movement, but they look at the movement outside of the throw. Where I look at the throw right away. That's the first thing that I look at. That's my number one evaluation process is what does your throw look like, okay? So what I do when I'm evaluating a throw is, first and foremost, I look at the angles of it, okay? So general rule of thumb for most guys, I want three things. I want the shoulders to match the slope of the mound as the front foot comes in full contact with the ground. I want the hips to match, and then I want the ball path itself to actually match the slope of the mound. Okay, if we get those three things, typically that's a really healthy throw. There's a little bit. It's a little bit different if a guy is a more overhead thrower, like a Justin Verlander or Suarez from the Padres kind of deal. That's a little bit different in how they match the slope and how they move. But most guys are not overhead throwers. So that covers, basically 90% of pretty much all the throwers. Okay. And then the second thing I look at is how are you leveraging the ball and how are you rotating. Okay. So when you're leveraging the ball, again, are you able to get up to that top spot? And when you do get up to the top spot, how do you rotate around that top spot? What I mean by the top spot is, the ball is standing still, and then you're gonna rotate your entire body around that ball, that point at which the ball flips up, and pull it straight down, okay? So how do you do that? How do you rotate around those points, okay? Typically, there's 2 points. Well, actually, always. There's 2 points, okay? It happens after I load the ball down, okay? So that's the first point. So when I come down out of the top of leg lift, I'm gonna load, and that's gonna be my first point where I'm gonna start to rotate around, okay? Because once I place it down, then I gotta start rotating on that backside. The second rotation point is right where my glove side arm is, so my glove side elbow, and then also my front side hip. I like to call it the oblique area, or the 9 to 11th rib, kind of where I'm rotating. So that's going to come down as the front foot comes down. I'm going to rotate my entire body around that point, okay? Typically, when those 2 points are tighter, meaning they don't have as much where my body is now going up and around, okay, but it's more of a compact and through rotation point, that's when guys typically have better throws, okay? So if you think about it like a punch, right? If I go out and around and I go boom versus right to you, okay, that's gonna have a lot more forceful punch. It's gonna be a lot more direct, okay? And then I would say, this is very controversial, but body types are different, throws are not, okay? So what do I mean by that? Obviously people's bodies are different, but the timing and the checkpoints as far as people's throws are going to be generally around the same, right? Like, you're not gonna have one guy at front foot strike that's gonna be like extremely externally rotated with his rib cages popped out and throw 95 and be really, really healthy for a long time. Most guys are going to be somewhere in between here of internal rotation. So, it's usually between, 45 and 60 degrees typically, somewhere in there as they come in front foot contact. And so that window is not really going to change. One's not going to bail out and have success, and the other one's going to just stay on their line and stay inside of themselves and stay against the wall. All the stuff that I typically talk about. It doesn't typically happen. So throws are generally the same as far as the checkpoints and the timing of those checkpoints, right? Now, as far as the rhythm, timing, and tempo for everybody, that might be a little bit different, but the checkpoints are still going to be the same. Most people hit the same exact checkpoints, unless, again, you're an overhead thrower. But that's what I mean by body types are different, throws are not. The timing or the checkpoints are going to be generally the same for everybody. The timing and tempo of them and the rhythm of them might be a little different from guy to guy, but the checkpoints remain the same. They're pretty much, for the most part, standard as far as I'm concerned. That's for healthy throwers. There's some guys that throw really, really hard that don't have healthy throws, but for healthy guys, the checkpoints are going to be the same. Okay, so that's what I mean. And then the second one is positions. Okay, this is where I focus. Secondly, really after the evaluation process, obviously. Okay, so after the evaluation process, then I go into the positions. Okay, first and foremost, we need length and strength throughout the tissues to be able to actually withstand the stresses of throwing, and we need to have your body move in the right spots. Okay, so I know I said that I evaluate the throw and not the movement. This doesn't mean that I completely neglect the ability to move, right? You need the capacity to move, and you need length and strength to be able to do that. A lot of people think that just because we have a lot of explosive movements in our program means that I don't focus on the strength component. That's not true. We need you to be able to have strength throughout long ranges of motion. That's where I focus. Okay, so I do want to know about your strength base, but what's most important is how much range of motion do you have at the joints that you need to have them to express what you want to express. Okay, and then where I go next is really understanding how to load. Okay, so this is where I focus in the training the most. Okay, so understanding how does my hip load and in what position. Most guys don't have their knee in the right spot, so their knee will almost punch out forward. Okay, so it won't be in line fully with the ankle. Most guys, when they throw really, really powerfully, need to have this alignment. There's some guys that get away with this and don't do that, but for the most part, the knee needs to be in line with the ankle. So this is where we teach them how to do that in the training, not only in like ISOs, so isolating the position, but also can you do it dynamically? Can you do it in different rhythms, timings, tempos? Can you do it with different jumps? That kind of thing. That way that, once they're done with a session, they've already practiced their load subconsciously, whether they know it or not, basically 40-50 times. And so now if they don't really know how to load after a session like that, I don't know how else to teach them, because they've had 40-50 reps, okay, in the training itself. Okay, and then the next one's going to be pelvic control. Okay, so if I can understand after I'm loading how to control my pelvis so that I can set myself up to rotate properly, right? If I can actually do that in real time and quickly and fast, and not have that thing pop out from underneath me, but stay with it underneath me the entire time. I like to think about it like as like this abdomen right here. If I'm a right-handed thrower, this ab right here, almost this quadrant right here of my body needs to stay underneath me as I go, instead of wanting to pop out from underneath me. Okay, if I can control that, I'm gonna have a lot better success and a lot better consistency within my throw. So now I can build upon good reps as opposed to having really just okay days where I'm 88 and then the next day I'm like 94, 95, because I can't control this, right? If we can control that, it's gonna be a lot more consistent. Okay. And then the next one I go to is angle creation. Obviously, we talked about this in evaluating the throw, okay? But this is where we start to focus on angle creation. This is where a lot of people don't understand. Like, so many people don't understand. Again, we need the hips, the shoulders, and the ball to match the slope of the mount. You have a line of tissue from your shoulders to your hip that make an X in your body, okay? So whatever my shoulders end up doing, my hip's gonna follow, okay? So if my shoulders go up, if I raise my right shoulder, my left hip now pops underneath me. So I go here and then it pops, right? But if I keep it down, now this goes up, okay? So boom, this right shoulder stays down, this hip stays up, okay? The reason why that's important is because as I go into front foot and I go down, this hip is now gonna be up. So now I have the shoulders down, now I have the hips down. Now it's a lot easier for me to now get on top of the ball and actually work down through the ball and use the mound to my advantage, as opposed to trying to work uphill against it. Now, that doesn't go for the overhead thrower. Overhead thrower is going to be a little bit different in how he moves. That's not really covered in this video, but for the most part, that angle creation is going to be super, super important, okay? So this in the training is where we make guys understand that the hips are going to be here, the hips are going to be down, the shoulders are going to be down, they're not going to be up. Can't tell you how many guys have come through the system that think that they're in good positions, in good spots, and they're not at all. And just by teaching that alone cleans them up quite a bit. Sometimes guys get into the point where they'll start to lean way forward and think that they're creating the angle, but now they're way forward and then they just pull off. So we got to get them back to understanding the load. Because remember, understanding how to load is number one, okay? That's number one. So if we understand how to load, now we get into controlling the pelvis, right? Because that happens after the load, right? And then after that is now we understand how to create the angle downhill, okay? Because we are throwing downhill, so you need to be able to understand that, okay? And then the last one, the main one in positioning, is staying on your line, okay? So there's a couple different lines that I like to think about. So one of them is going to be the glove side line, okay? So the glove side line is the line where my elbow can't cross my front side hip, okay? For most guys. Some guys are going to be out here, okay, where they're going to have their arm kind of out here in this position, but most guys are going to stay in line through here, okay? So that's number one, is that glove side line. Almost imagine as if like there's a wall behind you and you're rotating against the wall, and if I go any further, my elbow's gonna bang right against there and I'm gonna pull off, right? And I'm gonna hit the wall. I wanna stay against the wall as long as I possibly can before I come off of it, okay? So that's number one, okay? And that doesn't always work for everybody. because again, some guys are out here. If they're a lower slot guy, I think like Jacob DeGrom is like, he's like way out here. But what Jacob DeGrom doesn't do is he doesn't have this glove side elbow go past his front side hip as he's throwing the ball, because that will pull me off. That will pull me off of my line, and I'll yank the ball or cut the ball or whatever, right? So making sure that this elbow stays in line with my hip right here instead of back here is going to be super, super important until you release the ball, okay? So that's the number one line, okay? So that's staying on the line. Second line is going to be the ball line, okay? So in my opinion, and we'll go over this here really, really soon with, is it timing? No, it's actually here, right here, okay? One of the most important things in delivery is the actual ball flip up, okay? What I mean by ball flip up is, where does that ball flip up as I break the ball out of my hand and then I flip the ball up right here, okay? This is the number one most important position in the entire throw. Obviously, we lay the base with understanding how to load, and then we get the angles created, but that's to set us up for the most important piece, which is the ball flip up, okay? So where does the ball flip up? If I can get that to be clean and efficient, then all I have to really do is, from this point, now I have to create almost a straight line down through where I want to throw, okay? Now this can get complicated, because if guys are lower slot guys, if they're kind of 3/4 or whatever, they'll think about drawing the line and they'll get really like up here and they'll go way up there, okay? What I mean by drawing the line is it's different for everybody, okay? So if you're a 3/4 guy, right, you're gonna flip up like right here, and then you're gonna draw your line way out there, right? As opposed to the guy that's maybe, you know, in a little tighter and has this flip up point where he's gonna go right through there, right? It's just different for everybody. But if you can stay as loose and relaxed as possible drawing this line, typically that's when guys have really, really good throws where they can spin the ball and you can hear it coming out really, really well and efficiently, okay? So that's really, really important. One thing that I forgot to mention about the load and setting it up is making sure that the toes align, so big toe over big toe. As you come on down out of the load, there's gonna be a point at which the 2 feet are gonna align. So if this is my back foot and this is my front foot, right? As I come down, these toes, the big toe and the big toe, are gonna align for a second in time, okay? Typically for most really, really hard throwers. So when that happens, it can either be way out here, it can be way out here, or way underneath you, or kind of in the middle. Most guys are somewhere in the middle. When this happens, that's going to help me with the pelvic control. That's going to help keep my pelvis underneath me, so I don't have to worry about falling down the mountain too fast, or having that back hip go uphill as opposed to starting to work downhill, okay? I can't tell you how many guys kind of mess this up and kind of rush through this, okay? That's a really, really important piece. So, but that's what I look for as far as the positions go, okay? In the actual throw. And then the positions are just gonna be beating your head with the actual training itself, okay? The third thing is gonna be timing. So I'm big on positions first, understanding positioning first. And then from there, it's an understanding of how to time those positions on up, okay? What's your timing look like? So the load timing, okay? Load timing means at what rate does your load happen? Are you fast as you get out of the top of leg lift? Are you a little bit more methodical as far as like when you break your hands and when you load? Okay, it doesn't matter necessarily the rhythm of it. Okay, more so the timing of it. Okay, so what I mean is you're gonna have three things for most guys. Most guys do this, that happen at the same exact time. Okay, the hip load, the hands breaking, and then the front leg coming down. Okay, those three things typically happen together. I know you can't see my front leg, but those three things happen together. All of those happen together for most guys. There's a few guys out there that don't do that, but again, for the most part, those three things happen at the same time. Okay, all right. And then, as I talked about earlier, the timing of the ball flipping up in space is going to be really, really important, because that's going to tell us when to start to initiate our throw down. Okay, so as that ball flips up, now I'm going to go. Okay, if we can work on that in our throwing, to make sure that flip up point is at the right time, that's going to be huge to understand, because now you know when to accelerate the ball. Now you know when to start to snap down. Now you know your throw a little bit better, because now you understand at what time do I need to start accelerating through the ball, right? Where does it flip up? Okay, this is where we get into 1, 2, 3 timing. Okay, so 1 is going to be basically the top of leg lift. Okay, so that's 1. Okay, the 2 is going to be the actual load, the 2 down. Okay, so up, down. Okay, 1, 2, and then the 3 is the rest of the throw. So it's the flip up to snap. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Right, that's the rhythm and the cadence of the throw. Okay, now you can make that 1, 2, 3 really fast. You can slow it down. You know, it's totally up to you. But again, the timing of those checkpoints for guys that stay healthy and throw hard are going to be relatively the same. Okay, there's not going to be a lot of guys that disconnect the load and then retime the ball flip up back at the right exact time. There's just a lot of moving pieces. Most guys fit this kind of rhythm. Obviously, there's exceptions, but for the most part, everybody throws like that. Okay. The last piece that I'm going to focus on is recruitment. Okay, so I ask about people's strength base, because this is going to tell us what we have access to as far as how much power capacity do you have. This doesn't mean that we don't focus on strength at all. That's not true. Okay. In fact, I want you to get a little bit stronger so you have more to recruit from. Okay. But this is going into the neurology of the training, as far as you understanding how fast and how powerful you need to be able to recruit to throw 95. Okay, so this is where we make guys just a little bit faster and a little bit more powerful, so that they can actually express what they want to express. Like, how fast can you move and how fast can you fire? So once we understand the timing of it, okay, once you understand your timing and how your throw works, as far as when do you hit your checkpoints, right, versus anybody else, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing as long as you hit your checkpoints in the right time. Once you understand that, can we make it a little bit faster? Can we make it a little bit more powerful? And which one do we need to attack kind of the most, right? Like for skinny and slender guys, think about like Chris Sale. Chris Sale doesn't necessarily need to worry about firing a whole heck of a lot faster, right? Like, you know, maybe he could move a little bit faster, but we're probably going to focus more so on the length and strength of, you know, how much we can give him. Can we give him a bigger engine? That kind of thing, right? That doesn't mean that we have a different exercise selection. It just means that we have a different emphasis when we're doing that exercise, right? So it's more load, more power development, that kind of thing, right? And then for, you know, a guy that's a little bit bigger, think about like a Raldis Chapman, right? Like Raldis Chapman's great, and he does a lot of strength work. He builds his engine like crazy. He has a huge engine, but could we possibly make it fire a little bit faster, right? Like, you know, not saying that he's gonna throw harder. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, like, if I were to work with somebody that has a body like a Raldis Chapman, and I see him move and he's maybe not throwing as hard as he'd like, that's probably where I would go first, as opposed to working on, you know, more building a bigger engine, a bigger strength base, that kind of thing, right? I'd get him to be able to understand how to fire a little bit faster and move a little bit quicker, as opposed to trying to build a big strength base. Okay, so yeah, this is the system. This is the exact system that we've used to create 26 throwers to 95 miles an hour or better. If you're interested at all in becoming the 27th or beyond, I don't know how many people are gonna be there when this video is you know, years old or whatever the case may be. But if you're interested in becoming one of the 95 mile an hour throwers, you can DM me at Cam Hatch, that's with 2 M's, on Instagram, or at the Paradigm Code, and then also on Instagram. And then I also have a book out. It's called The Throw, and it goes over all the positions that I'm looking for, and the timing checkpoints that I'm looking for in the throw. So if you're interested in that at all, I'll attach the link below. But anyways, peace out, guys.